My name is Leo Carter. I'm 25, and I'm a certified genius at transmigrating into novels. Not? 1 second, I was the undisputed king of the late-night sausage cart, and the next, I woke up as the disposable tragic rival in some cliché, angsty romance novel. In the original story, I was hopelessly in love with my Ice Queen CEO wife, a love that ultimately got me killed after I fell off a cliff. But the first thing I did was slam my signature on our divorce papers. Let them have their drama. This guy is going to start living the good life. And you know what happened next? I started absolutely killing it at a local food truck park with my family's secret sausage recipe. My ex-wife started showing up every night. My business rival was won over by a single sausage. And now the entire internet is obsessed with finding my food truck. 1. My name is Leo Carter. I was just a regular guy, barely scraping by selling gourmet sausages from food truck at night. The high point of my life was probably the one night I sold 200 sausages in a row. I was so amped up closing down that I almost shoved my payment tablet into the deep fryer instead of sausage. So, when I slowly woke up and found myself not in my tiny, cramped apartment that perpetually smelled of grilled onions and paprika, but on a sprawling, manicured lawn that stretched as far as the eye could see, my first thought was, wow, those sausages must have had a serious kick. Am I hallucinating? Beneath me was a lounge chair so soft I felt like I was sinking into a cloud. Above me, an automated sunshade adjusted to the perfect angle. On the small table beside me sat a tall glass of something that was sweating condensation and looked ridiculously expensive. In the distance, a meticulously trimmed garden led to a main building that looked more like a European castle. I gave my thigh a hard pinch. Ouch. Yep, that hurt. This wasn't a dream. A second later, a flood of chaotic memories slammed into my brain like a burst dam, making my temples throb. After a few minutes of clutching my head and processing the information dump, I just went numb. I, Leo Carter, had been gloriously transmigrated, and not as some overpowered, chosen one protagonist, but into a trashy, angst-filled novel I'd stayed up all night hate reading. I had become a character with the exact same name, the cannon fodder side character. According to the novel's plot, this version of Leo Carter was a classic tool. He came from a wealthy family. Looking around, wealthy was a massive understatement, and was in a marriage of convenience with the book's female lead, the Ice Queen CEO, Isabella Sterling. The original Leo was obsessed with her, playing the role of a devoted simp for over a decade. But Isabella's heart already belonged to some guy named Ethan Prescott, her so-called one that got away. To win her over, the original idiot Leo did everything he could to sabotage Ethan, only to get slapped down by the main couple every single time. In the end, his family went bankrupt, everyone abandoned him, and he died tragically, falling off a cliff with his body never to be found. He was, in short, a stepping stone meant to add a little drama to the main character's love story and make the hero look even better. Damn, what kind of fresh hell is this? I muttered under my breath. Slinging sausages was hard work, but at least my life wasn't in danger. This transmigration package was a total scam. Just then, the crisp sound of high heels clicking on a stone path approached, carrying an aura of pure, unadulterated frost. I looked up to see a woman in a high-end, custom-tailored power suit walking toward me. She was tall, stunningly beautiful, but her exquisite face looked like it was carved from a glacier. Her eyes were as sharp as scalpels, making me instinctively shrink back. This was none other than the female lead of the novel, my original Leo's legal wife, Isabella Sterling. Whoa, that presence. No wonder she could play the original Leo like a fiddle. You couldn't develop a death stare like that from selling sausages for 100 years. Isabella stopped in front of me. Without a single word of greeting, she pulled a document from her briefcase and slapped it down on the table beside me. The motion was clean, sharp, and carried an undeniable finality. Leo, sign it. Her voice was as cold as her expression, devoid of any warmth. I don't want to repeat myself. Sign it. It's better for both of us. I glanced down. The bold, black letters on the cover page jumped out at me. Divorce agreement. According to the original plot, this is where the original Leo was supposed to break down, cry, beg, and cling to her leg, staging a hysterical drama that would only deepen Isabella's disgust and kick off the next chapter of angst. But who am I? I'm Leo Carter, the sausage king from the 21st century. I'm the guy who's already read the script. Become a roadblock for the main couple's epic love story. Get treated like a simp, emotionally and physically abused, only to end up as an unrecognizable corpse. Sorry, but someone else can have the part of the tragic rival. Not me. In an instant, I made my decision. This divorce, it was happening. And it was going to happen cleanly, quickly, and without a single shred of drama. I picked up the agreement and flipped straight to the last page, not even bothering to read the contents. Knowing Isabella's style, the division of assets was already ironed out to ensure I, the stepping stone, wouldn't get a single cent more than I was entitled to. But looking around at this massive estate, I figured the original Leo's family must have had a decent foundation. I wasn't going to starve. I grabbed the expensive-looking fountain pen from the table, uncapped it, and with a flourish signed Leo Carter on the line that sealed the cannon fodder's fate. The signature was bold, the motion was fluid, and there wasn't an ounce of hesitation. After signing, I pushed the document back toward Isabella, even managing a smile I hoped was friendly and full of relief. All signed. Ms. Sterling, it's been a pleasure doing business. Wait, no, I wish you and Mr. Prescott a lifetime of happiness together. Isabella was visibly stunned. For the first time, her icy eyes showed an emotion other than annoyance and indifference. It was shock, mixed with a hint of disbelief. She had probably come prepared for me to cry, scream, and make a scene. She might have even had security on standby nearby. But she never, ever expected this reaction. Decisive, cheerful, almost eager. This wasn't in her script at all. Her perfect eyebrows furrowed slightly as she studied my face, trying to find any sign that this was just an act. But unfortunately for her, my relief was 100% genuine. Freedom from a tragic fate, a ticket to a happy life. How could I not be thrilled? You? Isabella opened her mouth, as if to say something, but all that came out was a questioning confirmation. Did you even read the terms? Read them, I said, waving my hand dismissively with an I get it expression. Don't worry, Miss Sterling. I'll walk away with nothing. I respect all the terms of the agreement. I won't bother you again. From now on, you go your way, I'll go mine. We'll stay out of each other's hair. Isabella was silent for a few seconds, her gaze complex. In the end, she said nothing more, simply picked up the sign agreement and turned to leave. The clicking of her heels was still sharp, but her retreating figure seemed to have lost some of its hard-edged resolve, replaced by a trace of unspoken confusion. Watching her walk away, I let out a long, deep breath and sank back into the comfortable lounge chair, feeling like the sky itself had just gotten brighter. Crisis averted. Step one of escaping my cannon fodder fate complete. From this moment on, I was a free man. No more worrying about the main character bankrupting me. No more worrying about falling off a cliff. I gleefully picked up the expensive drink and took a sip. Not bad. Way better than my sausages. So what next? Obviously, it was time to enjoy this unexpected life of luxury. A multi-thousand-acre estate. Endless money, hopefully. No mortal danger. This was paradise. I closed my eyes and started planning my blissful, lazy new life. First, sleep for 3 days straight. Then, travel the world and eat my way through every global cuisine. Michelin-starred restaurants, legendary street food stalls. I was going to try it all. With the original Leo's background, money wouldn't be an issue. As for corporate empires, domineering CEOs, and the one that got away, you guys can have your drama. Just leave me out of it. I, Leo Carter, have one lifelong dream. To be a happy, lazy bum. And maybe if I could get back to my roots and open a chain of sausage stands in this world, that would be pretty cool too. A little tribute to my past life's hustle. I couldn't help but chuckle at the thought. This whole transmigration thing might not be so bad after all. The warm sun fell on my skin, and a gentle breeze drifted across the lawn, carrying the scent of flowers. I closed my eyes, soaking in the unprecedented peace and quiet. My new, counter-cliché, awesome life as Leo Carter had officially begun. After signing that priceless, in terms of my personal freedom, divorce agreement, and watching Isabella Sterling's cold, slightly bewildered figure disappear down the path, I felt completely reborn. The air was sweeter, The wind felt freer, and even the goofy husky rolling around on the grass in the distance looked handsome. Long live freedom! Long live the lazy life! I couldn't help but shout at the sky, startling a nearby maid carrying a fruit platter. She stumbled, nearly spilling a bowl of expensive-looking imported grapes all over me. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Carter," she stammered, her face pale. "No worries, no worries. Spill away. I'm in a great mood today. Everyone gets double their bonus this month," I declared with a magnanimous wave of my hand. It wasn't my hard-earned sausage money, so I didn't feel the pinch. The maid froze. Then her face lit up with incredulous joy. "Oh, really? Thank you, Mr. Carter." Watching her walk away happily, I stroked my chin. So this is the joy of being rich. So simple, yet so satisfying. The original Leo was such a simp. His brain was filled with nothing but Isabella and how to deal with Ethan. He probably enjoyed this massive fortune less than I have in the past half day. Now it was all mine. Though we were divorced, based on my quick scan of the agreement, mostly the asset division part, Isabella was tough but fair. My personal assets, mainly this estate and a hefty trust fund, were untouched. She only took what belonged to her family and her company. In other words, I was now a divorced, single, incredibly wealthy, and non-doomed. Super eligible bachelor? Nope, I was the king of the happy slackers. First order of business: experience the good life. I started with the estate's heated indoor pool. In my past life, the bathroom in my rental was so small I could barely turn around, and I had to time my showers so I wouldn't run out of hot water. A swimming pool? That was something I could only dream about. I changed into a pair of ridiculously expensive swim trunks a servant brought me. The tags were still on, and dove headfirst into the crystal clear water. The temperature was perfect, the tiles were smooth as glass, and a staff member stood nearby, ready to hand me a towel and a drink at a moment's notice. TSK, this is corrupt. So corrupt, I sighed contentedly as I doggy-paddled across the pool. But I love it. When I got tired of swimming, I floated on my back and enjoyed life. What was next? Right food. The original Leo, in a misguided attempt to maintain his figure, ate like a rabbit. His diet was so bland it made you question the meaning of life. Not me. My past life was a deep and meaningful relationship with sausages. My biggest dream was to eat my way through a mountain of delicacies without a care in the world. Back in the palace-like mansion, I gave my orders directly to the waiting butler. "Mr. Thompson, for lunch, I'm thinking. A full-on royal banquet might be a bit much. Let's start with a whole roasted duck, Peking style with all the trimmings. Then maybe some lobster bisque, and be generous with the lobster. A couple of Australian lobster tails, one grilled with garlic butter, one thermidor style. Sauté some seasonal vegetables on the side. Oh, and for the rice, I want that fancy jasmine rice, the kind that tastes like it was cooked over a wood fire." Mr. Thompson was a classic English butler, with impeccably combed hair and gold-rimmed glasses. Upon hearing my menu, a muscle in his perpetually stoic face twitched, but he maintained his flawless professionalism. "Of course, Mr. Carter. However, some of these dishes will require some time to prepare, especially the bisque." "No problem, I'll wait. I've got nothing but time." Time was the one thing I had in abundance now. While waiting for my feast, I decided to inspect my new kingdom. I hopped into one of the estate's golf carts and toured the vineyard, the horse stables, and even a private golf course. Everywhere I went, gardeners and staff stopped their work to greet me respectfully, though their eyes held a mixture of curiosity and pity. It didn't take me long to figure it out. The news of the divorce must have already spread. In the original Leo's tragic story, his divorce made him the laughingstock of high society. The staff gossiping was to be expected. But did I care? Of course not. I even struck up a conversation with an old gardener trimming rose bushes. "Hey there, those roses are looking great." The old man was flustered. Thank you, Mr. Carter," he stammered. "Keep up the good work. A big bonus for you at the end of the year." I patted his shoulder and zipped away in the cart, leaving him in a state of confused gratitude. The joy of spreading wealth was just that simple. Lunch did not disappoint. The long dining table was laden with exquisite dishes, all for me. It looked like a state dinner. I tossed table manners out the window and ate however I wanted. I stuffed my face with duck pancakes, slurped down every last drop of bisque, and got my hands covered in butter from the lobster tails. The servants standing by were perfectly composed, but I could feel their internal monologue. Has Mr. Carter lost his mind from the shock? He used to be so quiet you couldn't even hear him sip his soup. Who cares? It felt great. After stuffing myself, I collapsed onto the living room sofa, a leather behemoth that could probably fit a whole family, and rubbed my round belly, contemplating my next form of entertainment. Video games? The home theater? Or maybe I should check out the original Leo's collection of luxury cars in a garage and take one for a spin. As I wrestled with these wonderful problems, Mr. Thompson approached, holding a gold-embossed invitation. Mr. Carter, this just arrived from the Sterling family. Mr. Sterling Sr. is hosting a birthday gala tomorrow evening at the Ritz-Carlton and has requested your presence. Mr. Sterling Sr., Isabella's father? I took the invitation and raised an eyebrow. According to the original plot, this gala was a major turning point. The original Leo shamelessly went, hoping to win Isabella back, only to be publicly humiliated by her and Ethan. He became the butt of every joke at the party, which only fueled his later self-destructive behavior. To go or not to go? My inner lazy bum screamed at me to avoid such an obvious minefield. But then I thought about it. I was the new and improved Leo Carter. I had already made a clean break with Isabella. I was going to wish the old man a happy birthday, eat some free food, and then leave. Whatever drama the main couple wanted to stir up had nothing to do with me. Besides, if I hid away right after the divorce, it would look like I was heartbroken and still hung up on her. That didn't fit my new, carefree persona at all. I had to go, and I had to go in style. I would show everyone that Leo Carter was doing just fine, better than fine, in fact, without Isabella Sterling. I wasn't going to cause trouble. I was going to passively flex? Yes, that was it. I just wanted to quietly enjoy the buffet. If anyone insisted on bothering me, it wouldn't be my fault if they ended up embarrassing themselves, right? Please inform the Sterling family that I will be there on time, I said, casually tossing the invitation onto the coffee table. Very good, Mr. Carter, Mr. Thompson replied. After a pause, he added, shall I arrange for a tuxedo and a date for you? A date? Right? People usually brought a +1 to these things. The original Leo would have been pathetically waiting for Isabella, but now, I wave my hand. Just the tux is fine. I'll go alone. Who would I bring? A fellow sausage vendor? Nah, the mysterious single tycoon looks suited me better now. Mr. Thompson bowed and left. I lay on the sofa, crossing my legs, and started planning my outfit for the next night. It had to be understated yet luxurious, something that screamed, I'm thriving, without being so flashy that it upstaged the birthday boy. Ah, the struggles of the rich. So simple, yet so tedious. But please, bring on more of these struggles. A smile of anticipation spread across my face. Tomorrow night's gala seemed like it would be very interesting. I couldn't wait to see how their angsty love story would unfold without me, the obsessed ex, constantly forcing my way into the script. All I had to do was eat, drink, and enjoy the show. Mr. Thompson's efficiency was truly something to behold. The next afternoon, when I finally rolled out of a bed the size of a small country and shuffled into the walk-in closet, I found it filled with a stunning array of high-end custom suits. They ranged from classic black and white to a flashy sapphire blue and a deep burgundy. Each was paired with a corresponding set of dress shoes, a watch, cuff links, and even different colognes. The collection was worth more than everything I had owned in my past life combined. I scratched my messy hair, feeling a bit like a country bumpkin who'd stumbled into a palace. In the end, I chose a conservative dark gray suit with a subtle pattern and a pair of black Oxford shoes. It was the old man's birthday, after all. I couldn't steal the spotlight, though with my current inner charisma, I felt it would be hard to stay low-key. At 6:30 p.m., the Rolls-Royce Phantom, personally arranged by Mr. Thompson, pulled up to the mansion's entrance. The chauffeur, wearing white gloves, respectfully opened the door for me. As I settled into the mobile palace, I couldn't help but touch everything. The leather, the legroom, the privacy divider. It was definitely more comfortable than my three-wheeled sausage cart. The car glided smoothly toward the Ritz-Carlton. As I watched the city lights blur past my window, I mentally reviewed my battle plan for the evening. Primary objective: eat. Secondary objective: maintain a low profile, and avoid the main character's drama. Tertiary objective. If conflict was unavoidable, I would only engage in self-defense. When we arrived, a valet opened my door. A red carpet stretched up the stairs into the brilliantly lit ballroom. A crowd of reporters was already gathered, their cameras flashing as guests arrived. It was clear Mr. Sterling's birthday gala was a major event. The moment I stepped out of the car, the buzz of conversation died down for a second. Every camera, every eye swiveled in my direction. Whispers erupted like a swarm of mosquitoes. Look, it's Leo Carter. He actually came? Didn't they just get divorced? He looks pretty good. Not like he's heartbroken at all. It's probably an act. I bet he's dying inside. I felt nothing but a slight urge to laugh. Dying inside? I felt like a monkey freed from a cage. I gave the cameras a polite but distant smile and, led by a hotel staffer, walked confidently, mostly to keep my full stomach into the ballroom. The ballroom was the pinnacle of opulence, with crystal chandeliers casting a dazzling glow on the well-dressed guests. My entrance once again drew a wave of stares filled with curiosity, pity, and, most of all, the eager anticipation of a public meltdown. I ignored them all, my eyes scanning the room like a radar. First target acquired, the buffet. Oh yes, lobster, caviar, foie gras, an assortment of exquisite desserts. It was a feast for the eyes and the nose. This wasn't a birthday party. It was my personal paradise. I made a beeline for the food, completely oblivious to Isabella Sterling, who was standing not far away, surrounded by a group of people. She was wearing a stunning, champagne-colored, off-the-shoulder gown, looking as beautiful and unapproachable as ever. Of course, she saw me, and when she noticed that my gaze didn't even linger on her for a second, but instead locked onto the food, her elegant brows furrowed in confusion once again. What on earth is Leo up to? She probably wondered. Is this some new tactic to get my attention? Or has he really moved on? I couldn't care less what she was thinking. I picked up a fine china plate and began my raid. 2 lobster claws, a thick slice of roast beef, a generous smear of caviar on a bellini, 3 of those little tower-shaped things. Soon, my plate was piled high like a small mountain. I found a quiet corner to sit down and began to devoutly enjoy my meal. I had just put a juicy piece of beef in my mouth when a sneering voice sounded from above me. Well, if it isn't the great Leo Carter. Eating all by your lonesome? No one to talk to now that Isabella's left you? How pathetic. I looked up to see a young man in a pink suit, his hair slicked back with an obscene amount of gel, a smug grin plastered on his face. I did a quick search in my memory banks. The son of some construction magnate. Chad Miller. He used to be one of the original Leo's hangers-on, always encouraging him to chase after Isabella in hopes of cozying up to the Sterling family. Now, that Leo was out of favor. He was the first to jump out and kick him while he was down, probably to curry favor with the new top dog. The original Leo would have lost his temper, fallen right into Chad's trap, and ended up a laughingstock. But I wasn't the original Leo. I swallowed the beef in my mouth, speared a piece of lobster, and said calmly, Chad, my man, you've got it all wrong. In the presence of such fine cuisine, one isn't just eating, one is savoring. Besides, I gestured to my mountain of food. With company this delicious, how could I ever be pathetic? You should grab a plate. The lobster is incredibly fresh. Might run out if you're not quick. My non sequitur completely threw him off. The sneer on his face froze. He had expected rage, not a sincere invitation to eat. All the witty insults he had prepared were now stuck in his throat. All talk. Chad finally managed to sputter. You think acting like this will make Isabella look at you? Dream on. Look over there. Ethan and Isabella look perfect together, don't they? I followed his gaze. Sure enough, Isabella was talking with a man in a white suit who had a gentle, refined air about him. That had to be Ethan Prescott. Many people were watching them, their expressions clearly saying, what a perfect couple. I looked away and went back to my lobster. Yeah, they do look good together, I said, my mouth full. I wish them all the best. Seriously, Chad, you're missing out. The baked oysters are fantastic, too. Chad was completely dumbfounded. He felt like he had punched a pillow. Not only did his opponent refuse to fight back, he was trying to tempt him with food. It was frustrating and, strangely, it was making him hungry. He watched me eat, with such gusto that he couldn't help but swallow. I am not hungry. You enjoy your meal. Oomph. Chad felt like he would lose his composure if he stayed any longer, so he stormed off in a huff. I watched him go and shrugged. See, I was just trying to eat in peace, and people just kept offering themselves up for humiliation. This was purely self-defense. Totally reasonable. The little interruption didn't affect my appetite at all. In fact, it made the buffet taste even better. I continued my feast, completely absorbed in the delightful task at hand. However, it seemed trouble was drawn to me. Just as I finished my first plate and was getting up for a salad to cleanse my palate, I took a step back and bumped into someone. Oh, a soft voice cried out. I quickly turned around to see a young woman in a lavender dress stumbling. The half glass of champagne in her hand sloshed onto her skirt. I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking behind me. I apologized sincerely. It was my fault. I was too focused on the food. The girl looked up, revealing a sweet, pretty face with slightly chubby cheeks. She seemed flustered and quickly waved her hands. It's okay, it's okay. I wasn't watching where I was going. Just then a sharp voice cut in. Now, what are you doing? You bumped into her and ruined Chloe's dress. Do you have any idea how expensive this dress is? Can you even afford to pay for it? I turned to see a woman in a flashy dress and heavy makeup glaring at me. She was flanked by a few friends who were clearly there to watch the show. The girl, Chloe, quickly said, Cousin, it wasn't Mr. Carter's fault, it was my— What do you mean it wasn't his fault? He clearly ran into you. The cousin insisted, her voice getting louder and attracting the attention of nearby guests, including Isabella and Ethan. I frowned. This woman was clearly looking for a fight. I glanced at the barely noticeable wine stain on Chloe's dress, then at her aggressive cousin, and I smiled. Ma'am, I said, intentionally using a less than flattering term of address. First of all, I already apologized for bumping into her. Secondly, how much is the dress? I'll pay for it. Being called ma'am made the cousin's face turn red with anger. Who are you calling ma'am? This is a limited edition dress Chloe just bought from Paris. It costs $10,000. What are you going to pay with, you broke divorcee? $10,000? I raised an eyebrow. In my past life, I would have had to sell a mountain of sausages to make that much. A low murmur went through the crowd. The looks I was getting were now a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. Isabella was watching, her expression unreadable, probably waiting to see how I would handle this. Chloe was on the verge of tears. Cousin, please stop. He really doesn't have to pay. But I just calmly reached into the inner pocket of my understated suit and pulled out the thick leather wallet Mr. Thompson had prepared for me. Then, to everyone's astonishment, I took out a checkbook and a pen. Yes, a checkbook. Mr. Thompson said it was more convenient than a credit card for such occasions. I quickly wrote out the amount, signed my name, tore out the check, and held it out to the dumbfounded cousin. Here's $20,000, I said calmly. 10 for the dress, and 10 for Miss Chloe's emotional distress. After all, she was startled. As for the rest, I glanced at the cousin. Please take Miss Chloe to get a milkshake or something to calm her nerves. Your shouting is disturbing the other guests who are here to celebrate Mr. Sterling's birthday. The corner of the ballroom fell silent. Everyone stared, frozen, at the flimsy piece of paper in my hand, then at my unfazed expression. $22,000, thrown around without a second thought, and not to show off, but to shut someone up and to insult them at the same time. What kind of move was that? The cousin's face turned from red to white and back again. She didn't know whether to take the check or not. Chloe was completely lost. I simply tucked the check into Chloe's hand and gave her a friendly smile. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to scare you. If you like the dress, go buy another one. Or buy something else that makes you happy. With that, I turned away from the petrified group and headed for the salad bar. I didn't look back. The Caesar dressing on this salad was pretty good. Unbeknownst to me, in another corner of the ballroom, a distinguished old man in a traditional suit had witnessed the entire exchange. He stroked his chin, a glint of shrewd interest in his eyes. The little incident at the gala was like a pebble tossed into a pond, creating a few ripples that quickly subsided. My $20,000 check had successfully shut down the troublemaking cousin and silenced the onlookers waiting for a show. The way they looked at me had shifted from pity and mockery to confusion, curiosity, and even a hint of respect. A recently divorced man who was supposed to be devastated was instead eating with gusto and casually writing checks with more composure than anyone else in the room. It was completely outside their realm of understanding. I couldn't have cared less. After successfully devouring 3 plates of food and sampling 6 or 7 different kinds of mini desserts, I let out a satisfied burp, feeling that my life had peaked. The man of the hour, Mr. Sterling Sr., came out to say a few words. He was energetic and his voice was strong. He seemed to be in excellent health. I applauded along with everyone else, though my eyes were already scanning the dessert station for any missed opportunities. Finally, as the gala was winding down, I saw my chance and slipped out early, leaving behind a ballroom full of gossip, but taking with me a stomach full of delicacies. Back at my luxurious estate, I took a long, relaxing bath and then lay down on a bed bigger than my entire old apartment. I began to seriously contemplate a pressing issue. How should I spend this ridiculously wealthy and aimless new life in a more meaningful way? Travel the world? A definite possibility, but the jet lag sounded tiring. Buy a yacht and throw parties? A bit too loud, didn't really fit my new low-key persona. Collect supercars. The garage was already full of them, and I couldn't even name half the brands. Driving them would probably feel the same as driving my sausage cart, except they wouldn't stall halfway down the street. As I pondered, my thoughts drifted back to my previous life. The smoky night markets, the sizzling sausages, the chorus of customers yelling, "Hey boss, 1 sausage, extra hot sauce." It was tough, but the satisfaction of earning every penny with my own 2 hands and the pride I felt when a perfectly cooked sausage came off the grill was something this life of leisure couldn't replace. A bold, absurd, yet strangely exciting idea popped into my head. What if I went back to my old job in this world? The moment the thought appeared, it took root and began to grow like a weed. Imagine this: a multi-millionaire, owner of a 1,000-acre estate, setting up a stall at a night market to sell sausages. The image was so ridiculous, it was beautiful. The contrast, the drama, the sheer absurdity of it all. It was the perfect embodiment of my new, counter-cliché philosophy. Besides, it wouldn't be about the money. It would be a hobby, a tribute to my past life's hustle, and a way to add a little spice to this otherwise bland life of luxury. Yes, that's it. I slapped my thigh and jumped out of bed, pacing excitedly around the room. I'm going to be the best, happiest sausage vendor in the world. I was a man of action. I immediately called the omnipotent Mr. Thompson. "Mr. Thompson, I need your help," I said, my voice serious, as if I were about to launch a major corporate initiative. "Of course, Mr. Carter. How may I assist you?" came the immediate reply. "First, I need you to find me a spot at a night market, a food truck park, high traffic, preferably near University or a popular food street. Second, I need you to commission a custom-built food truck, top of the line, stainless steel countertops, a silent, energy-efficient generator, a built-in mini-fridge, run-flat tires. Oh, and I want the side painted with Leo's Craft sausages. A taste of nostalgia. The font needs to be cool. Third, find the best sausage supplier. The sausages need to have, no, they need to have the perfect texture, nice and springy. And give me the best ketchup, mustard, and relish. Top shelf stuff." I rattled off my list. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could almost picture Mr. Thompson's unflappable face, now etched with the existential questions of, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? After a full 30 seconds, his professionally trained, slightly trembling voice came through. Mr. Carter, are you saying? You want to set up a food truck to sell sausages?" "Exactly," I confirmed. "And remember, this isn't just a food truck. This is about passion. It's a dream. It's about experiencing life. The budget is unlimited. Give me the best of the best." Mr. Thompson seemed to take a deep breath. His professionalism ultimately won out over his shock. "Yes, Mr. Carter, I will see to it at once." I hung up feeling fantastic. I could already smell the familiar, comforting aroma of grilling sausages. For the next few days, I enjoyed the life of a pampered slacker while eagerly awaiting updates on my sausage empire. Mr. Thompson's execution was flawless. 3 days later, a food truck that could only be described as the Rolls-Royce of sausage carts was parked in the estate's garage. It was made entirely of gleaming stainless steel, equipped with every amenity imaginable, including a small sound system. The artistic lettering of Leo's Craft Sausages shimmered in the light, next to a cute and cool cartoon sausage logo. I ran my hand over the smooth surface, my eyes welling up with tears of joy. The dream setup I could only fantasize about in my past life was now a reality. This was a great cheat code to have. 2 days later, Mr. Thompson reported that he had secured a prime spot at the city's most popular university food truck park. All the permits were in order. The suppliers were lined up. I personally tested the samples by cooking a few myself. They tasted perfect. Everything was ready. All that was missing was the master chef himself. And so, on a clear, breezy night, I, Leo Carter, former sausage prince, current multi-millionaire slacker, drove my outrageously luxurious food truck to the university food truck park. To avoid attracting too much attention, I wore a baseball cap and a simple tracksuit, looking like a college student starting a new business. If you ignored the ridiculously fancy vehicle I was driving. As expected, the moment my food truck pulled into its prime spot, it became the center of attention. Whoa, look at that truck. Is that for selling sausages? That's insane. How much did that cost? The owner must be loaded. Leo's Craft Sausages? Is it new? Let's go check it out. College students are a curious bunch. Within minutes, a crowd had gathered around my truck, pointing, taking pictures, and posting on their social media. I calmly set up my equipment, preheated the grill, and arranged my condiments. My movements were smooth and practiced. The muscle memory was still there. Hey, how much are your sausages? A student with glasses asked. I held up 2 fingers and said with a friendly voice, $2 a pop, or 3 for $5. An honest price for an honest sausage. The price was the same as in my past life, affordable and friendly. It wasn't about making money. It was about connecting with people and having fun. The price, combined with my extravagant truck, created a surreal contrast. That cheap? I'll take 3, loaded up with everything. Me too. Ketchup and mustard for me. Dude, your truck is sick. Business was instantly booming. I worked efficiently, the sausages sizzling on the grill, releasing an irresistible aroma. I brushed them with oil, flipped them, added the toppings, and served them up. My motions were seamless. Seeing the students happily munching away, a long-forgotten sense of fulfillment washed over me. This was way more fun than eating a feast by myself in a giant mansion. However, it seemed I was destined to stand out. As I was busy grilling, a familiar, slightly surprised female voice said, "Excuse me, could I get 1 sausage, please?" I looked up and froze. Standing in front of my truck was Chloe, the girl from the gala whose dress I had paid $20,000 for. She was dressed simply in jeans, a white t-shirt, and sneakers. Without makeup, she looked pure and innocent. She clearly didn't recognize me with my cap on, her eyes focused on the sizzling sausages. My heart skipped a beat. What a small world. How did I run into her here? I lowered my voice and mumbled, "Coming right up." I expertly grilled a sausage and handed it to her. Chloe took it, paid, and took a small bite. Her eyes instantly lit up. This is delicious. Your sausages are amazing." I smiled but didn't say anything, feeling a little proud. Of course they were good. This was a secret family recipe, perfected in my past life. Just then, a group of sketchy-looking guys in tank tops, showing off their tattoos, swaggered up to my truck. The one in the lead, with bleached blonde hair, tapped on my stainless steel counter. "Hey, you new here? You know the rules? You gotta pay the management fee to operate on this street." Getting shaken down for protection money was a classic trope of the street vendor life. I sighed. It seemed even selling sausages in peace was too much to ask for. Chloe looked scared and took a step back. I was about to resolve the situation in the simplest way possible by showing them the thickness of my wallet, when another voice, full of shock and disbelief, boomed from the side. "Leo, what are you doing here selling sausages?" I turned my head and almost dropped my tongs. It was Isabella Sterling. She was dressed in an expensive-looking business suit, seemingly just passing by after work. Her perpetually icy face was now a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. She looked at me and my ridiculously fancy food truck, at the tongs in my hand, and finally at the baseball cap on my head. The world seemed to go silent. The bustling noise of the food truck park seemed to fade into the background. Every eye was now fixed on me. The sausage guy in the work-hard cap, and the formidable CEO whose face screamed, "My entire worldview is collapsing." The wannabe gangsters who had been trying to shake me down were so intimidated by Isabella's power suit and death stare combo that they forgot their lines and just stood there, looking dumb. Chloe, clutching her half-eaten sausage, looked back and forth between me and Isabella, her mouth hanging open in a state of total confusion. I sighed internally. All I wanted was to quietly sell some sausages and experience a simpler life. Why was that so hard? Did the plot of the novel have some kind of magnetic pull on its main characters? Well, if I couldn't avoid it, I might as well lean into it. I cleared my throat, and in a voice I tried to keep calm and casual, though my heart was pounding, waved my sausage tongs at Isabella. "Ms. Sterling? Fancy seeing you here. Getting off work? Care for sausage? Fresh off the grill, best in the city, satisfaction guaranteed." Isabella just stared. Her sharp eyes were locked on me, as if trying to bore through my cap and see just how much water was in my brain. She had probably never encountered a situation so bizarre, so utterly beyond comprehension in her entire life. Her ex-husband, a multi-millionaire, wasn't at home wallowing in sorrow or out partying his sorrows away after their divorce. Instead, he was at a university food truck park, selling $2 sausages. This wasn't some clever tactic to win her back. This was a full-blown psychotic break. "Leo," Isabella took a deep breath, trying to form a sentence, but words failed her. Finally, she managed to get out, "What on earth are you doing?" I blinked innocently. "I'm not doing anything, just running a legitimate business, providing an honest service. Would you like to support a small business owner, Ms. Sterling?" At that moment, the blonde-haired thug, who had been ignored for too long, decided to reassert his authority, especially in front of such a beautiful woman. He banged his fist on my counter again and shouted, trying to sound tough, "Hey, I'm talking to you. The fee, $50. Now, don't think you can ignore us just because your girlfriend showed up." Isabella's brow furrowed, and her icy gaze shifted to the thug. She had no idea what kind of breakdown Leo was having, but she instinctively disliked anyone causing a scene in front of her, especially when it involved her. Well, her ex-husband. Before Isabella could verbally annihilate the man with cold, hard business logic, I stepped in, not because I was scared, but because I wanted to resolve this with minimal fuss. I put down my tongs, slowly pulled out my leather wallet, yes, the fancy one, and took out a crisp $50 bill. I handed it to the blonde guy with a sincere expression. $50, right, my man? Here you go. For the month. We're all just trying to make a living out here. Let's keep things friendly." The thug and his crew were stunned. In all their years of shaking people down, they had seen people haggle, people plead poverty, people call the cops. They had never seen someone pay so willingly and be so polite about it. It left them at a loss for words. The blonde guy mechanically took the money. "Why, yeah, you know the deal," he stammered. I smiled and added, "The guys look like you work hard, pulling late nights. Here, let me get you each a sausage. On the house. You need to keep your energy up." Without waiting for a reply, I swiftly placed a few sausages on the grill and started cooking. The thugs were completely bewildered. This guy didn't play by the rules. He paid without a fight and then offered them food. All their planned intimidation tactics were now useless. As the saying goes, you don't bite the hand that feeds you, especially when it also gives you money. A few minutes later, the group of thugs was standing awkwardly in front of my truck, each holding a sausage, not sure whether to eat it or not. "Go on, eat up," I said cheerfully, as if they were my regular customers. "They're best when they're hot." The blonde guy, after a long pause, took a bite. "It's pretty good," he mumbled. Thanks, boss. If you have any trouble around here, just mention my name, Blondie." With that, feeling that staying any longer would be even more awkward, he and his crew quickly shuffled away, their protection money feeling less like a victory and more like a weird transaction. The crowd of students watching erupted in quiet laughter and murmurs. That boss is awesome. He just bribed those thugs with sausages. Is that a new negotiation tactic? Is there anything money can't do? He even made friends with the local gangsters. Chloe couldn't help but giggle. She looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Isabella had been watching the whole thing in silence. Her expression had shifted from shock to speechlessness, and now to something unreadably complex. She was beginning to realize that she no longer understood the man she had been married to for years. He had changed completely. He was no longer the dark, obsessive man whose world revolved around her. He was now a little goofy, a little carefree, and unexpectedly interesting. With the thug situation resolved, I turned back to Isabella, who was still standing there. "So," I asked tentatively, "are you sure you don't want one? Get a try. It's better than some of that Michelin star stuff." To my surprise, she didn't immediately refuse. She looked at the sizzling, fragrant sausages on the grill, then at my smiling eyes above my cap, and after a few seconds of silence, she actually nodded. All right, now it was my turn to be surprised. The Ice Queen wanted to eat street food? What concept? I quickly picked out the most perfectly grilled sausage, carefully applied the condiments, and served it to her in a paper sleeve. Isabella took it hesitantly, then elegantly pulled down a corner of her face mask, probably to avoid being recognized, and took a small, cautious bite. Her eyes widened slightly. "It's actually very good," she said softly, her tone neutral, but for her to offer any praise at all was groundbreaking. I felt a surge of pride. See, no one can resist the charm of a good sausage. Not even an Ice Queen CEO. Just then, an excited male voice cut in. "Isabella, it really is you. I thought I was seeing things. What are you doing here?" I turned to see another familiar face. The one that got away. Ethan Prescott had arrived. He was dressed in casual clothes and seemed to be just passing by. He stopped short when he saw Isabella standing in front of Sausage Truck, his face a mask of disbelief. What was going on tonight? Was my little truck the new hot spot for the main characters to hang out? Ethan strode over, his eyes first locking onto Isabella with a look of deep affection, then shifting to me. When he recognized me as the vendor, his expression became even more priceless, like he had just swallowed a fly. "Elio, what are you?" Ethan pointed at me, then at my truck, unable to form a complete sentence. "Mr. Prescott, good evening," I said calmly. "Care for sausage?" Ethan's face contorted. His gaze darted between me and Isabella, finally settling on the half-eaten sausage in her hand. His eyes were filled with disbelief and a sense of offense, as if Isabella had just eaten something disgusting. "Isabella, how can you eat this stuff? It's so unsanitary. Throw it away," Ethan said, reaching for the sausage in her hand. But Isabella instinctively pulled her hand back, avoiding his touch. "It tastes fine," she said coolly. Ethan's hand froze in midair, his face flushing with embarrassment. He felt like Isabella was defending Leo. It was absurd. He took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure, and forced a condescending smile at me. "Leo, I know the divorce was hard on you, but you don't have to resort to this. Have some self-respect. Running a food truck in a place like this? What would people say? Think of the reputation of your family, of the Sterling family." There was again that smug, superior tone. I was unfazed, even a little amused. Before I could respond, Chloe, who was still standing nearby, muttered, "What's wrong with running a food truck? He's earning an honest living. There's no shame in that." Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. Ethan's face darkened, and he shot her a glare. Isabella gave Chloe a thoughtful look. I chuckled and said to Ethan, "You're being a bit dramatic, Mr. Prescott. Selling sausages is a personal hobby, a way to experience life. It has nothing to do with self-respect. As for reputation," I gestured to my gleaming food truck, "I think my setup is pretty respectable, don't you? It's a lot more honest than some people who are all talk and no action." My words hit their mark, and a few of the students in the crowd snickered. Ethan was so angry his face turned purple, but he couldn't lose his cool in front of Isabella. He forced himself to calm down and said to her, "Isabella, this place is too crowded. Let's go. I'll drive you home." Isabella looked at me, then at the half-eaten sausage in her hand. After a moment of hesitation, she shook her head. "No, thank you, Ethan. I drove myself. You should go ahead." Ethan was stunned. He couldn't believe his ears. Isabella had just rejected him for her sausage-selling ex-husband. Now, the look he gave me was filled not just with disgust, but with a new, cold glint of genuine rivalry. In the end, Ethan left, fuming and utterly bewildered. Isabella stood there for a few more seconds, looking at me as if she wanted to say something. But all she said was, "Take care of yourself." Then she, too, turned and walked away, her figure still cool and distant, but now tinged with an unreadable emotion. The crisis, or whatever that was averted. I let out a sigh of relief and turned back to my waiting customers. All right, everyone, show's over. The sausages are still hot. $2 a pop, 3 for 5. I called out. Chloe hadn't left. She helped me take a few orders, and when the rush died down, she said shyly, "Boss. I mean, Mr. Carter, thank you for before. And for tonight. You were really cool." I waved it off with a smile. "No big deal. Come back anytime. I'll give you a discount." Chloe nodded enthusiastically, a bright smile on her face, and then skipped away. I looked at my now bustling truck and the curious but friendly faces of the students, and I felt a sense of satisfaction. It had been a chaotic night, but it was worth it. I not only experienced the simple life I craved, but also managed to passively flex on my rivals and maybe, just maybe, plant a small seed of doubt between the Ice Queen and her one that got away. This counter-cliché lazy life was getting more and more interesting. 6. After that eventful reunion at the food truck park, Leo's Craft Sausages officially blew up. How much? The next night, the moment my ridiculously fancy food truck parked at the university, it was mobbed. People were 3 deep around the counter. Some were there for the sausages, some were there to take selfies for their Instagram, and others were live streaming. A couple of guys holding up their phones even claimed to be talent scouts and asked if I was interested in becoming an actor. The reason for my newfound fame was a perfect storm of 3 viral stories. First, multi-millionaire sells sausages at a food truck park. The headline alone was clickbait gold. Some busybody had figured out who I was, despite the cap. The drama of the rich is an open secret in certain circles, and posted about my shiny truck online. The story went viral instantly. Second, Ice Queen ex-wife shows up for support. A blurry photo of Isabella eating a sausage. You could only see her hand and the lower half of her face, was being interpreted in 1,000 different ways. Headlines like "A glimmer of hope for divorced power couple" and "CEO comes down from her ivory tower for love" were everywhere. Third, badass vendor tames thugs with sausages. The image of Blondie and his crew looking bewildered while holding sausages have been turned into a series of memes with captions like, "The most advanced business negotiations often use the simplest methods, and they call him the sausage soprano. He pays you off, then he feeds you." The combination of these 3 stories was explosive. "Hey, are you Leo Carter? I'll take 10 sausages. I need a picture for my feed." "Mr. Carter, are you and Miss Sterling back together? Look this way. Give us a smile. We're from the Foodie Finds live stream." I stood there in my work-hard cap, facing the sea of people and flashing cameras, and felt a sense of dread. All I wanted was to quietly sell some sausages and live a simple life. How did I end up becoming a viral sensation? This was the exact opposite of the low-key, lazy life I had planned. But the sausages wouldn't grill themselves. I took a deep breath, activated my ignore the crowd superpower honed in my past life, and focused on my craft. I oiled the grill, flipped the sausages, added the toppings. My movements were still smooth, just a lot faster. "Please form a line. There's enough for everyone. $2 a pop, 3 for 5. I shouted over the noise, trying to maintain order. At some point, Chloe showed up. She was startled by the crowd at first, but then she naturally stepped behind the counter and started helping me take money and bag orders. She was a natural. "Mr. Carter, I can help," she said quietly, her eyes shining. I was so busy I didn't hesitate. "Thanks, Chloe. I'll treat you to a nice dinner later." With Chloe's help, things became much more manageable. She was gentle and patient with the customers, even with all their questions and cameras, which took a lot of pressure off me. But fame, as they say, is a double-edged sword. As I was working, a snide voice cut through the noise. Well, if it isn't the great Leo Carter, slumming it with the common folk. Are these sausages even up to code? You'd better not give these students food poisoning. Can you afford that lawsuit? I looked up. It was that pest, Chad Miller, again. This time, he had brought a few of his cronies with him, clearly here to mock me. Before I could say anything, the students in line started defending me. "Hey, watch your mouth. Mr. Carter's food is clean. Yeah, we eat here all the time and we're fine. Mind your own business. You're just jealous his business is booming." Chad's face flushed. I'm just concerned for everyone's health. Who knows what kind of cheap ingredients he's using, he retorted. I didn't waste my breath arguing. I simply held up a box from my supplier, pointing to the official health inspection seal. Then I tapped my gleaming stainless steel counter with my tongs. Chad, I said calmly, as you can see, everything is from a certified supplier, and my kitchen is spotless. If you're not buying, please don't hold up the line. Chad was about to say something else, but one of his friends pulled him back. Dude, let it go. Everyone on the internet loves this guy. You don't want to start a riot. Chad looked at the disapproving faces of the students, then at my "I don't have time for this" expression, and finally backed down. He spat on the ground and left with his friends, empty-handed this time. This little incident only made me more popular. The students felt like I was being unfairly targeted and bought even more sausages to show their support. "We've got your back, Mr. Carter," someone shouted. I was unfazed, even a little amused. Had I just passively gained a loyal customer base? Over the next few days, my food truck became the star attraction of the park. Business was so good that I sold out every night. Chloe and I were constantly busy. It was tiring, but seeing the small but meaningful profits add up and the happy smiles of the students gave me a strange sense of accomplishment. Chloe came to help almost every day. She seemed to enjoy the lively, down-to-earth atmosphere. We developed a good rhythm. I discovered that despite her gentle appearance, she was a hard worker and had a kind heart. We would chat sometimes, and I learned that she was a recent design school graduate from a well-off family. She didn't want to rely on her parents, so she was trying to make it on her own and came to the food truck park to unwind. "You're really different, Mr. Carter," she said one night as we were cleaning up. "Oh, how so?" I asked, wiping down the counter. "It's just, you seem so real, so happy, not like the other rich people I've met," she said, tilting her head. "You don't care what anyone else thinks. You just do what you want to do, and you do it well." I smiled but didn't say anything. "Honey, I thought, if you knew my previous job was also selling sausages, you might not be so impressed." But I had to admit, it felt nice to be admired for who I was. However, my success was starting to cause problems. There were a few other sausage and kebab vendors at the park. My sudden, overwhelming popularity had stolen most of their business. They had been watching me for a few days, but when it became clear I wasn't a passing fad, they decided to take action. One evening, during the peak rush, the park's manager, along with the other disgruntled vendors, came to my truck. "Mr. Carter, we need to talk," the manager said, wringing his hands, a troubled look on his face. "Look, your business is great, but you have to leave something for the other vendors. Everyone's just trying to make a living. Maybe you could find another location, or maybe not sell as much." Chloe looked worried. I stopped what I was doing and looked at the hostile faces of the other vendors, then at the manager's pained expression. I understood their position. I was unintentionally threatening their livelihood. In my past life, I might have backed down or just quit. But now I had a different idea. I wasn't here to compete. I was here to experience life and find joy. But if my joy was causing others pain, then it wasn't really joy. And while it was satisfying to passively shut down bullies like the thugs in Chad, this was a real-world problem, a conflict born from the need to survive. Maybe there was a different way to handle this. An idea began to form in my mind. I put down my tongs and gave the manager and the other vendors a friendly smile. Facing the hostile and anxious glares of the park manager and the other vendors, I widened my smile, making it as sincere as possible. "Mr. Davison, and to all the other business owners here, I understand completely," I said, putting down my tongs and wiping my hands. My tone was calm. "Honestly, I didn't come here to steal anyone's business. This is just a hobby for me, something I do for fun." Mr. Davison, the manager, looked skeptical, and the other vendors openly scoffed. "Fun? He calls driving a $500,000 food truck fun? Who is he kidding?" I wasn't fazed, but I continued. "I recognize that I have, in fact, hurt your businesses, and I can't ignore that. We're all out here trying to make a living, and it's not easy." I paused, looked at each of them, and then pitched the idea that had just struck me. "So how about this? Instead of competing with each other and driving prices down, why don't we work together? Let's turn the sausages of the University City Food Truck Park into a famous local brand. What do you say? Work together?" They all stared at me, bewildered. They had come expecting a confrontation, an argument, maybe even for me to use my wealth and influence to shut them down. They had never expected me to suggest a partnership. Exactly, a partnership. I nodded, my idea becoming clearer in my mind. I'll provide the funding and the marketing ideas. We'll upgrade everyone's equipment to clean, stainless steel setups. We'll create a unified brand, the University City Sausage Association, with transparent quality standards and pricing. My Leo's Craft sausages can be the premium option, using higher-end ingredients and charging a bit more, say $5 a sausage, for customers who want something special. And you all can stick to your current prices and specialties, focusing on value for the student crowd. I was getting excited as I laid out my vision. We can even cross-promote. If a customer thinks my sausages are too expensive, I'll send them to one of you for a more affordable option. If you have a customer looking for something fancy, you can send them to me. We could even host a sausage fest on weekends to draw in crowds from all over the city. With that kind of traffic, there will be more than enough business for everyone. My speech left them speechless. They had been in the food truck business for years, and their mindset was always about cutting costs, fighting for the best spot, and outmaneuvering the competition. They had never considered anything like this. An association? A unified brand? A food festival? It sounded crazy, but also kind of made sense. And the line, "I'll provide the funding to upgrade your equipment," was the clincher. Who wouldn't want a better, cleaner setup? They just couldn't afford it. An older vendor spoke up hesitantly. "And Mr. Carter, are you serious? You'd really pay to upgrade our trucks?" "Absolutely," I said, patting my chest. "Tomorrow I'll have, my guy contact a supplier and get everyone custom fitted for new countertops and grills. I'll cover the entire cost. Consider it a welcome gift and an apology for the trouble I've caused." Mr. Davison's eyes lit up. If what I was saying was true, and we could turn the sausage vendors into a unique attraction, it would be a huge boost for the entire food truck park. It would look great on his performance review. "Mr. Carter, your vision. It's incredible," the manager said, shaking my hand vigorously. "On behalf of the park management, I fully support the Sausage Association." The other vendors' hostility had melted away, replaced first by disbelief, then by excitement and gratitude. They gathered around me, thanking me profusely and pledging their support. "Mr. Carter, we're sorry for being so narrow-minded before. You can count on us. We'll make sure our quality is top-notch. Yeah, let's do this together." Seeing their genuine smiles, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Money really could solve a lot of problems. And this was money well spent. I had resolved the conflict, won over my competitors, improved the overall quality of the food park, and ensured the students had better, safer food options. It was a win-win-win. It was about having a vision. Chloe, who had been watching from the side, looked at me with stars in her eyes. She was amazed. Leo wasn't just a fun, carefree guy. He had the foresight and leadership to turn a negative situation into a positive one for everyone. This wasn't passive flexing anymore. This was actively changing the game, and it felt even better. I was true to my word. The next day, I had the ever-reliable Mr. Thompson contact a commercial kitchen supplier. Within a week, all the association members had brand-new stainless steel countertops and energy-efficient grills. I also had custom aprons and small flags with the University City Sausage Association logo made for each of them. This move not only resolved the conflict, but also gave the entire sausage section of the park a clean, professional look, turning it into a neat and tidy attraction. The story got picked up by local news and bloggers, and I was praised online as a conscientious entrepreneur and a genius of emotional intelligence. As the premium brand of the association, Leo's Craft Sausages saw its business boom even more. The positive buzz and improved image of the entire association drew in more customers than ever. Many people would come, try a gourmet sausage at my truck, and then grab a few classic ones from the other vendors. That weekend, I organized the first Sausage Fest. The vendors went all out, creating special flavors like cheese-stuffed sausages, spicy crawfish sausages, and even a durian-flavored sausage for the adventurous. The park was packed. It was a huge success, with everyone's sales tripling. The other vendors were ecstatic, looking at me as if I were some kind of business guru. I stood by my luxurious food truck, watching the bustling, happy scene, listening to the sizzle of the grills and the laughter of the customers, and felt a profound sense of accomplishment. This was so much more fulfilling than sitting alone in my mansion, counting my money. But my time in the quiet life was apparently over. As the festival was in full swing, a black Maybach pulled up to the edge of the park. The window rolled down to reveal Isabella's beautiful, cold face. She looked out at the thriving, orderly scene, and at me, standing in the middle of it all, laughing like a kid, and her expression became impossibly complex. Her assistant had told her that I was making waves at the food truck park and had even started some kind of association. She had assumed it was another one of my bizarre stunts to get attention. But seeing it in person, it was so vibrant. The gloomy, narrow-minded man she had known was gone. In his place was a man who seemed to radiate a light she had never seen before, a light that was warm and infectious. Ethan was in the car with her. He looked at me, the center of attention, and his face darkened. He had hoped to see me fail, to be driven out by the other vendors. Instead, he was witnessing me turn a potential disaster into a resounding success, becoming a leader in the process. It made him feel threatened and deeply unsettled. Isabella, it's just a small-time operation. It's nothing to be impressed by, Ethan said, trying to downplay my achievement. But Isabella just replied coolly, it takes a certain kind of talent to turn a small business into something with a grand vision. With that, she rolled up the window and told the driver to leave. Ethan watched her cold profile, his sense of crisis deepening. He realized that Leo's transformation was slowly, but surely, chipping away at Isabella's frozen heart. And I, happily sprinkling paprika on a customer's sausage, was completely oblivious to it all. I just thought the spices smelled particularly good that day. The success of the Sausage Association made me a minor celebrity in the local food scene. My days were full and happy. I'd run the truck with Chloe, joke around with the students, and watch the pocket change in my business account grow. It gave me a grounded sense of satisfaction. The sprawling estate started to feel more like a fancy hotel I just slept at. I had almost forgotten my identity as a divorced ex-son-in-law of a tycoon until Mr. Thompson found me, looking serious, and handed me an elegant invitation. Mr. Carter, the Sterling Corporation's annual charity gala. Mr. Sterling Sr. personally requested your attendance. I took the invitation, the gold foil lettering glinting in the light. The Sterling Charity Gala? It was one of the biggest high society events of the year. In the past, the original Leo would have groveled to go as Isabella's plus one, only to stand in a corner like a piece of furniture while she and Ethan dazzled the crowd. Normally, I would have refused without a second thought. A stuffy, pretentious event like that couldn't compare to the freedom of my food truck. But this time I hesitated, not because I had any lingering feelings for Isabella, but because of her father. He had looked at me differently at his birthday party, and it felt rude to turn down a personal invitation from an elder. Besides, my status had changed. I was a food truck mogul now. It might be interesting to see how the other half lived, and more importantly, to see if they had a good buffet. All right, tell the Sterlings I'll be there, I said, casually placing the invitation on my condiment shelf. Mr. Thompson looked relieved. Shall I arrange for a tuxedo and a date? He asked. Just a tux is fine. As for a date, my eyes instinctively darted to Chloe, who was diligently saucing a sausage, bringing her felt, sudden, and I wasn't sure she'd enjoy that kind of scene. No, thanks. I'll go alone. Mr. Thompson bowed and left. Chloe looked up. Mr. Carter, are you going to fancy party? She asked curiously. Yeah, a charity thing. Mostly just going for the free food, I said dismissively. Chloe blinked her big eyes and didn't press further, but I caught a fleeting glimpse of disappointment in her expression. The night of the gala, I put on the Armani tuxedo Mr. Thompson had prepared. Looking at the suave stranger in the mirror, I could barely recognize myself. Clothes really do make the man. I almost looked like a real blue-blooded heir, if you ignored the slight paunch I was developing from quality testing my own product. Riding in the Rolls-Royce to the Ritz-Carlton again, the feeling was completely different. The first time, I felt like I was being dragged to my doom. This time, I felt like I was heading to a free, all-you-can-eat buffet. The ballroom was, as expected, a glittering spectacle of wealth and power. My arrival caused another minor stir. Many recognized the viral sausage vendor and started whispering, their gazes a mix of curiosity, surprise, and disdain. I ignored them all and made a beeline for my true purpose. The buffet. The foie gras was decent, the lobster jelly was nice, but the portions were ridiculously small. My sausages were way more satisfying. I was happily working on a lamb chop when a cool, familiar voice came from behind me. You actually came. I turned. It was Isabella. She was wearing a royal blue, floor-length gown that made her look like an unattainable snow queen. Her gaze was still complex, but the previous disgust was gone, replaced by a genuine curiosity. "Miss Sterling, good evening," I said after swallowing my lamb. I held up my plate. "Your father personally invited me. I couldn't say no. The lamb is pretty good. Want some?" Isabella was speechless. She had probably never seen anyone so focused on eating at a charity gala. She was silent for a moment, her eyes falling to my hands. "You've gained some weight," she noted. I blushed. "Oh, the food's been good lately," I mumbled. The corner of her mouth twitched, almost forming a smile. "I heard your sausage association is doing well." "It's all right. People are being generous. Just try to make a living," I said modestly, though I was secretly pleased that my venture had reached the ears of the ice queen herself. We stood there in a slightly awkward silence. Me with my plate, she in her regal gown. The original Leo would have been babbling excitedly, but I just felt hungry. I want to get back to my lamb chop. Just then, the ever-present Ethan Prescott appeared, a glass of champagne in his hand. He smoothly positioned himself next to Isabella, as if staking his claim. "Isabella, there you are," he said warmly, before turning his fake smile on me. "Leo, you came. How nice. But you should really be more mindful of your image at an event like this. Walking around with a plate of food is a bit unseemly, don't you think?" Here we go again, with the condescending superiority. I sighed and put down my plate. It's hard to argue while holding food. I was about to give him one of my sincere responses when Isabella spoke first. "The point of a charity gala is charity, not appearances," she said, her voice quiet but clear. "Leo is supporting this cause with money he earned through his own hard work. That's more admirable than some people who are all talk." Ethan's smile froze. He looked at Isabella in disbelief. Was she defending me? I was stunned. I looked at Isabella. Her face was impassive, but her eyes were firm. Wow, was the iceberg melting? No, it was actively fighting my battles for me. This feeling was pretty great. Passive defense was awesome. Ethan's face paled. "You're right, Isabella. My mistake," he forced out, shooting me a look that said, "You'll pay for this." I shrugged innocently. "Why are you looking at me?" "I didn't do anything. I was just a passive magnet for drama." Just then, the charity auction began. The auctioneer brought out jewelry, art, and other luxury items. I wasn't interested until the final item was presented, a simple but exquisitely designed diamond necklace called Tear of the Stars. This Tear of the Stars necklace was designed by the renowned Vivienne, the auctioneer announced. The bidding starts at $50,000. I wasn't paying attention until I heard Isabella whisper to herself, "It's one of Vivienne's pieces." I caught the hint of admiration in her voice. It seemed she liked it. Ethan noticed too. He immediately raised his paddle. 60,000. He shot a smug look at Isabella, clearly intending to buy it for her. The price quickly climbed to 100,000. Isabella frowned. She liked it, but as the head of the Sterling Corporation, she couldn't get into a bidding war with a business partner like Ethan. Ethan was determined to win. When the price hit 120,000, the bidding stalled. 120,000, going once, going twice, the auctioneer called. Just as Ethan was savoring his victory, I, on a whim, raised my paddle. 150,000, I said, my voice calm but carrying across the silent room. Every head turned to me. Even Isabella looked at me in shock. Ethan shot up from his seat. "Now, what do you think you're doing? Supporting charity. Is there a problem?" I replied innocently. "Surely you wouldn't deny me the chance to contribute. Would you, Mr. Prescott?" My inner monologue was a little different. This money came easy anyway from my inheritance. Might as well use it for a good cause and piss off Ethan. And maybe Isabella liked it. It could be a thank you for her defending me. See? Totally passive. All for charity. Not really. Ethan was furious, but he couldn't lose his composure in public. 160,000, he bid out. 200,000, I said without blinking. You want to have a money fight? Bro, you have no idea what a lazy rich guy is capable of. In the end, I won the Tear of the Stars for $200,000. As the gavel fell, the room erupted in applause. Ethan sat back down, his face a thundercloud. A staff member brought the necklace to me. I took the elegant box, and then, to everyone's astonishment, I turned and presented it to Isabella. For you, I said, as casually as if I were handing her a sausage. I thought it would suit you. Isabella was completely frozen. She stared at the necklace, then at my clear, smiling eyes, and her heart skipped a beat. She had considered 1,000 possibilities, but she had never imagined that I would buy the necklace and just give it to her. The room buzzed with whispers. The ex-husband just dropped $200,000 on a necklace for his ex-wife at a charity gala. Were they getting back together? The reporters' cameras flashed wildly. Ethan looked like he was about to have an aneurysm. Isabella just stared at me, not accepting, not refusing. Her mind was in turmoil. The Leo in front of her was a stranger, one who made her feel flustered and strangely drawn to him. Seeing her hesitation, I scratched my nose awkwardly. If you don't like it, no big deal. I can always hang out my food truck as a decoration. It's pretty shiny. A woman behind Isabella stifled a laugh. Isabella finally snapped out of her trance. She looked at my sincere and ridiculous expression, and the corners of her mouth turned up in a small smile. She reached out and took the box. Thank you, she said softly. The words were quiet, but they landed like a boulder in the frozen lake of her heart, sending ripples through her. And me? My mission was complete. Under the complex gaze of the entire room, I turned and headed back to the buffet. My work here was done, and that chocolate cake looked delicious. The $200,000 Tier of the Stars necklace made waves I hadn't anticipated. The next day, I was back in my food truck, wearing my work-hard cap, flipping sausages as if the tuxedo-wearing philanthropist from the night before was a completely different person. As Chloe helped me pack orders, she kept stealing glances at me, her eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and an unreadable emotion. The internet was buzzing with news from the gala, with headlines like "Ex-husband's grand gesture melts Ice Queen's heart" trending everywhere. Mr. Carter, Chloe finally asked in a small voice, "Did you really give that necklace to Miss Sterling last night?" Huh? Oh, yeah. I answered casually, slathering sauce on a sausage. It looked nice, so I bought it. What? And nothing, she said, looking down. I just think, that's really nice. I didn't think much of it. My attention was captured by a familiar figure approaching. Isabella. She was back. This time, she wasn't in her car. She had walked over, dressed in a simple white blouse and khaki pants. She looked less like a corporate shark and more relaxed. She stood in front of my truck, watching me work with a slightly awkward expression. Ms. Sterling? To what do I owe the honor? Here to support my small business again. I greeted her with a smile, wondering if the Ice Queen was actually craving another sausage. Isabella pursed her lips, then said, as if it took a great deal of effort, I'm not here for a sausage. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. The necklace. It's too much, she said, looking me in the eye. I can't just accept it. My heart sank a little. Was she returning it? Hanging a $200,000 piece of jewelry on my food truck did seem a bit excessive. So, Isabella continued, pausing for effect, I'd like to treat you to dinner as a thank you. Puffed. Chloe, who was taking a sip of water, nearly did a spit take. She quickly covered her mouth, her face turning red. I was stunned, too. Treat me to dinner? The Ice Queen was asking me out to dinner? Had the world turned upside down? Was I still dreaming? Well, passively accepting a dinner invitation was a new kind of win, I guess. I scratched my head. Dinner, huh? Well, all right, but I don't close up until late. That's fine. I'll wait, Isabella said. And then she actually walked over to a nearby bench, sat down, and started answering emails on her phone, looking as serious as if she were in a boardroom. Now, not only were Chloe and I shocked, but the students in line were, too. The CEO of the Sterling Corporation, sitting on a park bench, waiting for a sausage vendor to finish his shift. The scene was surreal. You're the man, Mr. Carter, one of the students whispered, giving me a thumbs up. I just laughed nervously. What was Isabella planning? Was this some kind of trap? For the next few hours, I grilled sausages under a strange, palpable tension. Isabella sat there, not looking at me, but her presence was a constant, unnerving weight. Chloe worked in silence, and the mood was a little subdued. Finally, after serving the last customer and cleaning up, I walked over to Isabella. "Sorry to keep you waiting, Miss Sterling." She put her phone away and stood up. "Let's go." She hadn't brought her signature Maybach. Instead, she hailed a cab, which surprised me again. The cab dropped us off in front of a very expensive-looking French restaurant. The doorman's eyes widened as he saw us. A CEO in a designer blouse and a food truck vendor in a tracksuit that smelled faintly of grilled onions. "Miss Sterling, are you sure about this?" I asked, looking down at my outfit. "This feels like a business attire required kind of place." "I'm sure," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument, and walked in. The restaurant was elegant and quiet, with flickering candlelight and soft piano music. We were seated at a window table. The waiter handed us menus written entirely in French. Isabella ordered with fluent ease, then looked at me. I stared at the curvy letters, completely lost. The fanciest foreign word I knew was ketchup. "I'll have what she's having," I said, closing the menu. "When in doubt, follow the CEO's lead." Isabella glanced at me, but said nothing. The wait for the food was awkward. We just sat there, staring at each other. In our years of marriage, our conversations had been mostly a one-way street of the original Leo's desperate pleas and Isabella's cold silence. I finally broke the silence, my professional instincts kicking in. "You know, this place has great ambience, but I bet the portions are tiny. Definitely not as filling as my sausages. And look at this foie gras. It's a little overcooked on the edges. That's going to affect the texture. You see, with my sausages, the key is precise temperature control." Isabella's mouth twitched as she listened to my earnest critique comparing a Michelin-starred restaurant to my food truck. She looked like she was trying very hard not to laugh. She was discovering that dinner with Leo was never boring. The food arrived, and as predicted, it was beautifully plated and ridiculously small. I ate everything, offering my expert opinion on each dish, all based on my sausage grilling standards. Isabella barely ate, mostly just watching me. She found herself noticing how focused I was when I ate. Real it was, compared to the phony schmoozing she was used to at business dinners. "You really enjoy your life now, don't you?" she asked suddenly. I put down my fork and wiped my mouth. "I do," I said, nodding sincerely. "It's free, it's honest, it's fun. I get to grill sausages and sometimes people even treat me to dinner," I said, glancing at her. "What's not to like? Before, you weren't like this," she said hesitantly. "That was then, this is now," I said with a smile. "People change. Besides, I was a real jerk back then. I caused you a lot of trouble. I'm sorry about that." The apology was for the original Leo, and also a way for me to clear the air for my own peaceful new life. Isabella was taken aback. She had never expected to hear an apology from me. The man in front of her was carefree, laid back, almost a little goofy, but the sincerity and joy in his eyes were undeniable. For the first time, she started to truly question what her decision to divorce had meant for her. The dinner ended with my detailed critiques and Isabella's complex thoughts. When the check came, a 5-figure bill. I didn't even flinch since I wasn't paying. Isabella paid with a graceful swipe of her card. As we stepped outside, a cool breeze washed over us. I stretched. "Thanks for dinner, Miss Sterling. It was good, but I'm still hungry. I think I'm going to go home and grill a couple of sausages." Isabella finally lost her composure and let out a laugh. It was like watching a glacier melt in the spring, a rare and beautiful sight. I was captivated. I never knew the Ice Queen could look so lovely when she smiled. She noticed my stare, and her smile vanished, her cool demeanor returning, though the tips of her ears were slightly red. "I'll give you a ride home." No, that's okay," I said, waving my hands. "I can grab a cab. You should get home and rest." This time, I didn't give her a chance to argue. I waved goodbye and quickly got into a taxi. As the car pulled away, I looked back and saw her still standing in front of the restaurant, looking a little lonely under the streetlights. A strange feeling stirred in my chest. Maybe the Ice Queen wasn't so cold after all. And Isabella, standing alone on the sidewalk, subconsciously touched the cool tear of the stars necklace at her throat. For the first time, her heart was filled with a new and unsettling uncertainty. Perhaps it was time to get to know her interesting ex-husband. 10. After that ridiculously expensive French dinner, the relationship between Isabella and me entered a strange, new, and surprisingly comfortable phase. She started showing up at the food truck park regularly, almost like it was part of her routine. Sometimes she'd come straight from work, still in her power suit, and just stand there quietly watching me. Other times, she'd come on the weekends in casual clothes and would even try to help by taking money, though she was terrible at it and I usually had to fix her mistakes later. The students started calling her the boss's wife. Whenever she appeared, they'd cheer. "Hey, Mr. Carter, the missus is here to check on you." At first, Isabella would blush and correct them, but eventually, she just started giving me an exasperated look, and finally, she just let it happen, sometimes even with a small, secret smile. The change was gradual. The ice around her was melting. Sometimes, when our eyes met, I'd see a flicker of shyness. I got used to having her around. I'd find myself asking, "Do you want extra hot sauce today?" As if the years of drama between us had never happened, as if we were just a normal couple. Ethan, of course, didn't give up. He tried to ask her out, sent her gifts, even showed up at her office. But Isabella grew colder and colder toward him, eventually having security bar him from the building. I heard he had a fit and punched his steering wheel, but there was nothing he could do. Once a heart starts to stray, you can't force it back. Chloe seemed to sense the shift. She started coming to help less often, but when she did, she was always cheerful. I'd catch her looking at Isabella and me with a knowing, happy expression. One day, after we closed up, she told me, "Mr. Carter, it's so good to see you this happy. You and Miss Sterling. You're good together." Then she skipped off, looking like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Life went on peaceful and sweet. The Sausage Association was thriving, a famous fixture of the university scene. I even invented a few new items, like the ultimate cheese stuffed sausage and the truffle-infused luxury link, which were a huge hit. Then, one day, Isabella's father, the formidable Mr. Sterling Sr., paid a visit to my food truck. He was dressed in a casual jacket, looking like any other old man out for a stroll. He just stood there, watching. I was so busy, I didn't notice him at first. "Dad," Isabella said, her voice a little tense. I looked up and my heart jumped. Was this the final boss? Was he here to test me? I quickly handed my tongs to a neighboring vendor, wiped my hands, and walked over nervously. "Mr. Sterling, what brings you here?" He didn't say anything at first. He just looked me up and down, then surveyed my clean, orderly truck and the long line of students. Finally, his gaze landed on Isabella, who was holding a freshly grilled sausage I had just given her. "I'll have one of those," the old man said, his voice firm. I was taken aback for a second, then quickly recovered. "Of course. What would you like on it?" "The same as hers," he said, pointing at Isabella. I quickly grilled a sausage and handed it to him respectfully. He took a big bite and chewed thoughtfully. Everyone, including Isabella, held their breath. Finally, he swallowed and nodded. "Good. The right amount of char, good ingredients. Better than that fancy, pretentious stuff." I let out a sigh of relief. "You're too kind, sir. I'm just trying to make a living." He took another bite, then looked at me, his expression turning serious. "Son, I hear you've been running those subsidiary companies I gave you like charities. The profits are way down." My heart tightened. Here it comes. The real test. The companies from the divorce settlement. I hadn't paid much attention to them, other than to increase employee benefits and lower prices, which had, admittedly, tanked the profits. "I believe that you can't ever make enough money, but you can make people happy," I said honestly. Mr. Sterling stared at me for a long moment, then burst out laughing. He clapped me on the shoulder. "Well said. The Sterling family doesn't need that little bit of profit. You got vision. You're better than my good-for-nothing nephew. That's for sure." He was clearly talking about Ethan. He turned to Isabella, his voice softening. "Izzy, it seems your judgment has improved." Isabella blushed. "Dad." The old man just laughed, asked me a few more questions about the association, and then left satisfied, taking 2 uncooked sausages with him for his cook to prepare at home. Was that an official endorsement? After he left, Isabella and I looked at each other and burst out laughing. The evening sun filtered through the food truck park's awnings, casting a warm, golden glow. Everything felt perfect. It all seemed to fall into place after that. One night, I was driving Isabella home. I had started doing that often in my nondescript SUV. We were parked in front of her apartment building, soft music playing on a radio. Well, get some rest, I said as I always did. But she didn't get out of the car. She was quiet for a moment. Then she turned to me, her eyes serious. Leo, she asked, can we start over? I was stunned. I never expected her to be the one to say it. I looked at her face, softened by the moonlight, her once icy eyes now filled with a hopeful vulnerability. My heart melted. Through all the craziness, from enemies to friends, this proud, beautiful, and surprisingly sweet woman had found a way into my heart. I smiled. Miss Sterling, I said, teasing her, if we start over, can you handle your boyfriend being a sausage vendor? You might have to help me with the cash register sometimes, even though you're terrible at math. She laughed and playfully punched my arm. I'm not doing your accounting. But, she said, her voice softening, the sausages are pretty good. I took her hand. Isabella, I said seriously, the old Leo, he probably didn't deserve you. I can't promise I'm perfect, but I can promise that I will do everything I can to make you as happy as you look when you're eating a sausage. It was the most Leo Carter proposal I could think of. Her eyes welled up. She squeezed my hand and nodded. Okay. No flowers, no diamond rings, though I'd already given her a pretty nice necklace. Just the faint smell of grilled onions and a simple promise. For us, it was more than enough. And after that, well, the University City Food Truck Park gained a new attraction, the most beautiful vendor's wife in the world. Isabella would often show up, wearing an apron, trying her best to help, her smile sweeter than any dessert. And the sausage boss, Leo Carter, would be right there beside her, flipping sausages and stealing glances at his wife, grinning like an idiot. What about Ethan? I heard he went overseas to find himself. Chad and his ilk? They had long since vanished from our world. My food truck became a famous landmark. People came not just for the food, but to watch us be disgustingly in love. I eventually turned Leo's Craft Sausages into a franchise, hiring a professional team to manage it, while Isabella and I became the happy, semi-retired owners. We'd still go back to the giant estate for weekend getaways, but we spent most of our time in the cozy little apartment we bought together. I'd grill her sausages from the park, and she'd make me her favorite tea. Our life wasn't a dramatic novel anymore. It was a quiet, happy story, filled with the simple, warm, everyday sizzle of sausage on a grill. I was once the tragic rival in a trashy romance novel, but by throwing away the script and just being myself, I became the hero of my own, much better story. And I learned that the best kind of happiness is simple, an endless supply of sausages, and you, right here by my side.